So I guess it's like what do we want to chat about today? Like for people, like do we want to talk about controversy? Like I feel like controversy is a big one, but like let's explain what controversy is. And it's all of these letters and it's all of these court processes and it's all of this UCC and it's like you have to agree to this act or that act or you have to do this or you have to do that, and it's like people get caught in the controversy. They get caught up in the drama, in the government drama, in the agency drama, in the political drama, in the health drama, like all this drama, and it doesn't get anyone anywhere, and everyone's running around like headless chooks trying to bloody sort out all their drama. And if anything, it's like the way I see it, Jace, is like people are tapped into a false matrix and they buy into the drama. And this has been my own personal growth, right? Of this process. And it's like not falling into it, rising above it. And in the rising above it, this is not just in the metaphysical sense, it's actually in the legal sense as well, because we don't belong in the federal state legislative system. Like you just said, we have not been in the, what did you call it?
We're not in their republic, their new
We're not
republic.
in the new republic.
Well, in order for a new state to form, which is what they did, it's basically the way I see it is a Jesuit Catholic state, and this is why Albo has Catholic parents, and he's hiding his heritage because initially what they had to do is subvert the Protestant church, the Church of England. And so this is why King Charles can't come to our rescue. He doesn't stand up for, or he doesn't say, hey, those are my people, get back. He doesn't come to try and save us or do anything or speak. He's just like a titular head, like a donkey head that just doesn't really do anything. So this is what they had to do. The Jesuits were very ecclesiastical. So they had to come over, and part of their subversion was infiltrating a church. So when Rome fell, it turned into a church. And so it's a lot of church business. You can't really talk about PMAs or what's going on without confronting the church business. It's a bit, tiresome, but ever since the beginning, the 1215, when the first PMA was put together, the Bar Association, the laws of England are not the Catholic laws, right? There's a separation from Rome and the Catholics. And so they were kicked out of Russia. They've always had a problem with Russia. That's why they always try and get us to fight Russia, or the narrative is Russia bad, you know, Australia good or America good or the West good. But really, Russia, we should be siding with Russia because Russia has the same problem. The common enemy are the Catholic Jesuits, right? And the bankers, the old robber barons. So,
Okay, so we're going, hang on, I just want to, we're going political and we're going religious. This is going to ruffle so many feathers.
mm,
Like that statement, I'm sitting here going, oh, I'm feeling the collective just like,
mm,
let's, but let's not go into politics or religion into the controversy that it
mm,
creates, but look at it practically through the lens of business and
mm,
why this is what's keeping us
mm.
stuck in the controversy.
Yeah, it is a loop. And we're stuck in that old loop of like Ireland fighting the Catholics and England pushing back on the Catholics and now Australia pushing back on Albanese Catholics, Fabian Society. It really is just a Jesuit cult. They put these body corporates and cults out the front. So and they make them body corporates, right? And they incorporate. See, the Protestants really weren't into incorporating because all you're incorporating is the biblical, right? The common law, the Bible. So what are we incorporating today? Statutes and acts. Well, that's fundamentally Roman Church statutes and acts. So if they're going to pass an act or a legislative instrument to draft citizens of Australia, technically where that comes from is trying to incorporate through their acts Christians by Catholics to go fight Russia right? Or another war. So what they want to do is the Catholics want to use Christians and put them on the front line to fight the Russians and die for the Russians and sacrifice for, the Catholics fighting the Russians. So this is what they did in order to co-opt this, because the UK never would have done this. The Church of England and the Queen and Country would never entertain this, right? Only the Catholics and the Jesuits send a lot of people to their death. So it's got all the hallmarks of the same old war. It's just everyone's in a cycle. You have long count cycles, you have shorter cycles, you've got your ATO, your life paying tax, that's like a 50-year cycle. And you got your school life, maybe that's a 10-year cycle. You got the wheel of time run by Saturn's, another long centuries cycle. These wars repeat, history repeats, and just as we're about to do a reset, they're going to launch us into war, right? It's just to keep us in fear-based cycles. So
So how do we rise above it?
first off, you've got to recognize the cycle and
Right.
recognize that history repeats and go, am I just at a history repeat? I feel like I've been here before. I can't articulate the memory. I have amnesia of these events, but I feel like I'm in cycles. Marriage could be a cycle. These Christian traps. So, for example, let's have a look at marriage. The Jesuits come in and they try to tear apart the PMA. Sorry, natural PMA. Sorry, natural family. Right.
Natural
The
family.
yeah, the religious, the chain of custody back to the Garden of Eden, where God is has children, Adam and Eve. So the Jesuit or the snake in the garden comes along and says, "How can I split that family, that them from their earth, their dominion? I can go locking up all the nature reserves and parks, wildlife parks and reserves, and I can keep them off their dominion, their earth, and then I can attack and separate the children from the elders. I
Hmm.
separate and divide that natural family, that's that fauna and flora, divide them from their garden, divide the fauna from the flora, so to speak, and then I can get in and start to, set them apart, set them against each other, right?
Hmm.
And it doesn't matter how they do it, they're very repetitive, they're not very creative. So
Yeah.
they don't have new creative ways to do it. They just repeat what works. And
Fear.
this is one of the ways, the telltale signs, right? Oh, I feel like you feel like you're in a religious war. Do you feel like you've been here before? Do you feel like history is repeating? A conscientious objection comes from freedom of religion, and the freedom of religion comes from the free church. Free church comes from the protesters protesting Rome. So we're back here as Protestants protesting, right, a draft, for example, and we're trying to get away from the same game. The bankers want to cycle us in war, make profit from war, send the Christians to the front line. It's repeat, repeat, repeat.
I saw somewhere that the first ever credit union created was in 33 AD. And this is when the Roman Empire created the first based on the like Bible and Jesus. And it was to replace the sun, which comes from Egyptian mythology.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's like the sun is the cycles of the sun and the moon and the god
yeah.
of the sun.
The pyramid of Egypt. See at the top of the pyramid, you get the all-seeing eye, and you
Yeah,
get the one eye overseas. So you got mono. Mono is one eye. So you got
yeah.
money, money, and the
Money.
Phoenician Egyptian code of money, mono eye. Yeah, it's a control of your mind, and
Yeah,
in Revelation it talks about be the mark on your head and the or mark in your hand. So it's how you do your hand or sign these contracts, and
yeah.
how the contracts are controlling your.
And everyone's tapped into the mind of money. And
Mm,
this is what we're trying to say is like, when you revenue yourself and when you move into the PMA and you step into your natural state of being and you step into your autonomy and your power, and then you take control of the mind and your energy and your current see the energy that flows through you because it's like water and it has waves across the universe, and you put your energetic value out into the universe. This is where you tap into true
Yeah.
wealth.
Oh,
But
yeah.
like this is huge, right? And this is, I mean, you've been studying ecclesiastical law for like how many years?
Oh, over 30, 35 years. Yeah. Since the
And
90s.
like, so what's your like, there's a lot of people out there that I guess aren't religious or not, religion is not at the forefront. When you go into business, you're not thinking about religion. When you get a birth certificate, you're not thinking
Mm,
about religion or politics or this or
mm,
that. When you're doing trade and commerce in the jurisdictions of
mm.
Australia, PTY, LTD, these aren't the things that we think about. So it's like, I guess how do you make the connection between this is where it started, this is what created it,
Well, it all comes from somewhere. And although you got commercial business today, it came from all the ecclesiastical orders. So, going back 300 years, if you're establishing a church or an association, it would be is would have to be involved to keep the Trinity. If you didn't have this Trinity, or you didn't have a holy union or a holy marriage or a holy business, and it's usually this is why church ran a lot of business, and taxation was tithing.
tithing, yeah.
And so, today it's morphed into just taxation, but it used to be tithes to the church, right? And just like the ecclesiastical PMAs are typically under international law referred to as two or more forming a compact agreement are equal in rights. So there's your constitution and your social compacts. That came from freedom of religion, right? Two or more forming a more perfect union as God is our witness. So the key here was God was always a witness. God was in the marriage, and you put your names in the Bible, and you'd form a bond with God as your witness, and it'd be a holy marriage and a holy Bible for a holy union. So if you're talking about unions, it
Trade
was
unions.
trade unions came from the United Kingdom, going, the Union Jack and everything was biblical. And, this nation was founded by Christians, the Church of England, not the Catholics, right? We're not supposed to be a Catholic nation. We're supposed to be a Church of England nation, right? So Albanese, if he's got Catholic parents and heritage, he can't be Prime Minister for a Church of England nation. He can be Prime Minister for a new state, a new kingdom, a new republic. That's fine. I have no beef with that. But I'm a beneficiary to the original jurisdiction, the OG church, right? And everybody that's studying the straw man needs to know and connect that they came from the free man movement. So up in Canada in the Commonwealth nations 15, 20 years ago, we used to call it the free man. It wasn't really so much straw man. Straw man was what the Catholics created, right? But technically it was a free man because that came from free church, which came from protest the church, which led to the name Protestant. So if you're protesting, well, you got to ask yourself, what were we supposed to protest? It was Rome, right? Rome fell, but Jace, Rome fell, yeah, and it turns into a church. That's why you got Catholic ministers of the house passing private members' bills to try and control you through instruments and bills, right? Like the draft act or new bill passed by the private PMA members of a private Jesuit order or a Fabian society from Rome, right? It's not from the Church of England. The United Kingdom, right, is not the republic that we got running in Canberra. The United Kingdom is supposed to unite the kingdom, not divide the kingdom.
We're
So
all in division.
something went wrong. And if you're talking about PMAs, these come from the covenant you had with God. So God gave man dominion, and you were considered members, PMA members, or covenant, the body of Christ under a covenant. So your social compact or private relationship with God would be the private social compact, the
Agreement.
PMA compact, the contract. It's a few terms. Like if you're talking about international law, social compact or covenants, but ecclesiastical, it's covenant, right?
Mm.
So who you covenant, and if it's the body, if under the common law, right? The sovereign is the body. The people make up the body. The commonwealth is the body, just like in a church, because it always comes from church. So the body of Christ. Now the Pope comes in and says, oh, let's incorporate under Rome and be a body corporate. They've got to kill you on paper and give you a legal life and incorporate your straw person into the legal life. That's why under the Republic, the legislative acts talk about a legal life, but under the Church of England, your dominion is God gave man dominion. So it's man, woman, natural persons. And so the Catholic, the Jesuits, this Republic, using the Roman statutes and legislation, they want to kill off the natural person. They want to try and hook you. Oh, yeah, you're a natural person. You're a person. Come over and incorporate as a legal person. So with the legislation and the acts and bills to draft the Christian children, put them on the front line to fight the war for the Jesuits, they can only draft straw persons or legal persons having a legal life. They cannot co-opt, right, the good old men and women who have dominion. If you're really exercising your dominion on earth, right, and you're following the commandments under a covenant as the body of Christ, the old PMA covenant, then these bylaws in the Bible, like love thy neighbor and you fulfilled the law, I think that's in Matthew. These are the bylaws. These are commandments, right? They're not a lot of laws, but they're technically what you'd call bylaws in that PMA
Yeah.
today. So you're taking counsel with God and he says, follow my commandments. You're reading the Bible. These are the bylaws. If it's a modern PMA, right, it's called bylaws. This is I'm just trying to attach it to the ecclesia to show that
Yeah.
it did transcend from there. And so let's just revise quickly. International law, two or more form a compact agreement are equal in rights. Ecclesiastical law, two or more gather in my name, there I am. See the Trinity. Commercial, corporate, PTYs, companies, body corporates, no Trinity. The Pope replaces God. He comes into Godhead and says, two or more form a compact agreement are equal in rights. There's no before God. There's no God as my witness because the Pope wants us all to rebel against the Bible, become heathens amongst men, and not form a holy union or a holy trinity or a holy company, because technically this unhealthy competition, right, is competitive. It's for profit.
It
So
is. The public sector is all about profit.
for profit,
All
right?
about profit. All the controversy is for profit. Fees, charges, levies, licenses. All the controversy, all the he said, she said, like it's keeping people, all the court cases and legal battles, you're playing into the controversy in the public system. And you're playing the game. You're in the loop.
So here's how, let's bring this into tax, ATO, right?
Yeah.
So Jesus threw the tax tables and he was a natural tax protester. He was the largest tax protester in history. So he was definitely against tax. I think we can all agree he was a tax protester, right? That's settled in his historical documents. So what's the one jurisdictional change you can make in your life? If you to pick up the Bible and follow Jesus, so to speak, and become the body of Christ and form your own family, PMA. If it was a religion, then be a ministry or faith-based organization. And I'm not saying you have to join a church for this to occur. What I'm
Mm.
saying is you can actually step out of the jurisdiction and remove yourself out of Babylon by following the path of Jesus and being not for profit.
Not for
Right?
profit.
So if he's the prophet to follow and he's not for profit, then
Yes.
follow him. Let go of your ego, right?
Yes.
Don't think about all this profit incoming, right? Don't worry about the income statements or the entity. Don't create a new entity that's ego income, right? Just
Mm-hmm.
separate yourself. This is why, this is the big secret, and most people don't know this. The reason the ATO allow you to self-assess, they also allow you to demonstrate a conscientious objection, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or freedom of religion,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or self-assess. These things are sacred under international law, basically under freedom of religion. So if you've got COVID and you don't want to jab your kids, you have a conscientious decision to make as a Christian protesting Rome because you're carrying on as a mission in life to unite the kingdom, spread the gospel, and be on a mission overseas as a prophet. You can't be a prophet in your own land. You must be non-profit. So the Catholics come over here, and what do? Oh, be for profit. Pay us. So they're going, okay, if I was to turn my back on God in ecclesiastical sense, set up a for-profit business, right? What is the price I got to pay? What's the cost of doing business with the devil in Australia? That's the tax. Whatever tax you pay is the sin tax, right? It's your sin for doing business and carrying on as a heathen amongst men, going against the word of God and using your legal person for profit. That's the cost of doing business. Whatever you
Yeah.
pay is the exact amount it requires to wake up.
And this is why I feel like the humanitarian is approach and like it's not just about what we do, but it's why. You
Mm,
know, it's literally why. It's like, it's the health, it's the safety, it's the protection, it's the freedom. It's what people deserve. And I think a lot of people go into business to profit. And it's not to say that you can't profit, but it's what you do with those profits. And as an accountant, I saw so many businesses set up as for-profit entities. And
mm,
when you look the actual inner workings of their businesses, they're
mm,
humanitarian. They provide for their family. You can be totally provided for your family.
mm,
But most families, they keep putting money back into the business, back into their service or their products
mm,
because, you know, like
mm,
the non-profits we see out there, the salvos, you know, and the, I guess you would say traditional profits, they still provide products and services.
yeah.
So yeah, like it's such a huge realization that I think business can be used for the good of humanity and for good of people and to benefit people in ways that stop looking at business through the profit lens and look at business through the humanitarian lens because really that's what we're here for.
Yeah, paying tax is especially through March and then coming into the reset in April with all these stars aligning. Everybody's got to confront their relationship cycles, their marriage cycles, their tax cycles, their business,
Everything.
their university cycles, their relationship with the parents cycles, the going to school cycle. This hive mind, right? Think of it like this. If I could sum it up, all the Jesuits don't care when you pay your tax. They just need you to feel drained. They need you to feel like you're on a treadmill. This whole, I feel like I'm on a treadmill going nowhere and keep paying tax and I'm repeating history and then they're going to take us into war and another cycle. This feeling, right? Stand out of your body for a bit and experience it, witness it and go, Jace is right. I do feel like I'm on treadmills and cycles. This is the time to get out of it because if you don't get out of these cycles in March, you're going to recycle into the republic and you're just going to be another member of the general public redoing things, recycling, you know, it's restore, we recycle, rebirth. It's like, yeah, reincarnation, everything right? Stand back from it and go, you know what? I'm going to take the day off. I just don't want to get back on that treadmill, that cycle, that circular path, right? Run out of Saturn. That's Saturnalian cult, right? There, that black cube, you know, is in your access. Think of it like this, you know, it was no surprise that international trade and the Panama Canal is now controlled by BlackRock, right? So you got the black cube, black carbon, black rock, Saturnalian, you know, the Black's Law Dictionary, Black's Law, black magistrate, black coats,
And
black
what's the
everything,
black?
black
In
hats,
accounting, the black is
black hats.
profit.
Yeah, black hats. So it's all just about cycle, 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 and they don't, it's not, yeah, they can print their own money. So someone said a few months ago, you know, if you can print, if the government can print its own money, why does it need our tax? Why does it need our
Hmm.
tax dollars? Just print some more. That's what America
Hmm.
does. You know, so
Hmm.
it's like, yeah, no, because they need you on a treadmill. They need you to
It's faith, right? When I did a deep dive on the Australian economy and I looked at they control both sides of the balance sheet. They tr
Mm,
control the asset side, creating the currency, and they
mm,
tr control the debt side, writing off that currency and writing off the debt through
mm.
letters of comfort and warranties. And for the
Yeah.
natural love and affection, we can let go of these debts, right? So they actually control both sides
Yeah, they're
of the
controlling the
balance
narrative.
sheet.
Yeah,
Right.
they
And you can see like they're just teetering what they released the budget recently. But the whole point is like to go above it, the budget, the balance sheet, the currency, go above it. Sorry, excuse my French, but that's how I feel. And
yeah.
it's like you're on this treadmill and the true asset
Mm,
that backs this entire system is faith.
mm,
It's faith. It's a faith-based organization that is used to cycle the slaves to create the currency. That's
mm,
what it does, right? So
mm,
it's when you can step out of it and see it for what it is, you lose faith. You
mm.
lose faith in the Australian government. You lose, like I look at ATO posts or news media posts, the
Mm.
faith of the Australian people is diminishing, right?
Yeah.
Because we're losing faith. And it's like, if you lose that faith, then what do we have faith in? Where are we then going to put our energy? Where are we then going to channel our
Mm,
resources? Where are we then going to start making decisions? And I think this is what this crumbling is. And it's like the more it bubbles up to the surface and people see the
mm.
truth, the more the faith,
Keep you in
like,
fear. Oh, we gotta go. You're gonna go to war. There's a draft. We're here to Albanese, your supreme leader, is here to save you. You just got to be have enough fear to believe and vote for him to save you. Don't send me to war. Send me to a good war. Whatever it is,
so
they're
what
gonna
can we
put
have
fear in
faith
it.
in?
Yeah, in ourselves, in our own PMA, in our walk with God,
Our
right?
own governance.
Going inside. Yeah. Autonomy is independence, which is
Mm.
sovereignty, we've talked about the ecclesiastical way that the church broke away from Rome. In a modern customary law now is called international law, and you declare independence, right? So one way to do it is to say, look, I'm a member of the Church of England. I'm a beneficiary to that original jurisdiction. I'm not a member of the Republic. I was talking to someone before, and if you want to remove yourself off the Electoral Commission, because as a
Mm.
voter, as a general member of the public, voting for Albo, voting for the Republic,
Well, this is where they get you, right?
they say, well, you're a member, you've switched sides, you took the money, you transferred over, you took some social care, you took some, what do you call it, benefits under a social compact, which formed an agreement, and we've established trust. And when our police officers pull you over and under the Ethics Sector Act, I think it's 97, Section 6, right? The public officers and employees of the government must form public trusts, which is an agreement. So they form this trust through agreement, and then but they've got to give you a service because there's no trust form unless you benefit in some way.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it's not so much about the commercial, oh, I consent or I don't consent. It's more about the equitable rules of did you receive a service,
Mm.
right?
And this
So
is why we brought trust into the PMA as well, right? Because having the trust board
yeah.
and providing that equitable service and trust law and equity law. So,
Yeah, that board is supposed to replace the public trustee and guardian or the Catholic Jesuit public trustee and guardian over the Protestant Christian kids. You see?
mm, mm,
So the you put your faith in God, right? And what's that saying? There's no relationship without trust. Something that phrase I heard in a movie the other day. So think of it like this: when a cop pulls you over, you don't feel like you're getting anything, and you can say, "Officer, why'd you pull me over?" And says, "Oh, just to a random RBT." And you go, "Well, I don't require the service." Don't say I don't consent because commercially it's not deep
mm,
enough. You're not thorough enough. You're not thorough enough because as a citizen, you're deemed to automatically be a citizen. So there's this consent thing, and
mm.
commercial UCC, and there's people going around promoting UCC and commercial part of it, right? Trying to deal with the body corporate in a commercial sense. We're under the rules of equity. God gave man dominion in a testamentary trust, and he was the grantor and Jesus the testator, right? And as you have dominion down through your grandfather, father, and mother, and the surviving heir, you're a surviving beneficial heir with the powers of granting, right?
God, granter of deeds.
Right, God. So once you see this relationship and it's passed down through an ecclesiastical sense, not a UCC commercial, it wasn't set by America under their domestic law. We're not in America, we're not in Kansas, right? We are under the yoke of the common law, the Commonwealth of Australia, and the old common laws of England, which that's all come from the Bible in a 1611 testamentary trust, right? First and Second Testament, where God is trying to give us something. So just accept and go, look, I'm the beneficial heir of the fruit of the garden under the usufruct agreement. It's rather military manuals use the laws of usufruct because they're trying to steal your dominion, your earth, your minerals, and sell them off, right, for their own interests.
So let's go back to the cop on the road, right? They're trying to pull you
Yeah,
over.
he pulls you over and he says, look, the reason I pulled you over is because I want to tell you to slow down and wear your seatbelt. And you go, what do you mean? Yeah, just accept my service. I mean, friendly advice. And here's $280 for the friendly advice. So we've got an agreement to form trusts. And you go, well, what do you think your job is? Oh, well, naturally, under international law and law of nations, I have to protect all the citizens of the new republic. So the moment you produce a contract or an evidence of a contract, be it a driver's license, which is a social compact,
Compact. Hmm.
is going back to the Garden of Eden still, you can tie it back. If you can't tie it back to ecclesiastical law, common law, then you shouldn't be involved in a PMA. You need to ground, you need to have that foundational baseline of where it comes from, right? So when a cop gives you an infringement, a penalty notice, right? He's basically trying to speed up the whole pay the Pope a penance, right? No one has time to get out of their cars and go to the church en masse, and seek forgiveness of their sins and pay penance. So we've got a penance notice or penalty notice. And this is how they speed up everything and commercialize the church. So Rome, being commercial, turned into a church and is now being commercial. Oh my God. Oh, what a shock, right? So they need the driver's license because it's a social compact that gives them jurisdiction for the service to form trust as an officer under the Ethics Sector Act. So the ethics here is equity, right? So they must be seen to be providing a service. They can't beat you up, right? They do. Now, Jace, I'm curious. Why do they drag you from the car, put their knee into your back or your neck and beat you up, be into submission because you're not following their rules? Well, this is very much Catholic. So I don't know if anybody went to Sunday school, but there's that a lot of the Catholic mantra of, beat you into submission. And this comes from, it hurts me more than it hurts you. Smack, smack, smack. It hurts me to hit you, right? So this form of Catholic violence, shame, and guilt causes resentment to the Christian child because he's not raised Catholic, but he's got a Catholic priest as a magistrate, a Catholic police officer that's using the doctrine of Catholicism to punish everybody into submission, beat you into submission, and then saying, this is for your own safety while he beats you. So if you come out all bloody and bruised with a broken arm because, they pulled you out of the car, etc., it's the police trained to normalize this form of punishment and penance coming from Catholic doctrine, right? Spare the rod, punish, spoil the child, spare the rod, whatever it is, right? I can't think of it at the moment. Don't have a Bible in front of me, but this whole shame and guilt and penance and punishment is all promoted by the Catholic Church. Sure, it's in the Protestant Bibles, Protestant Church. You could argue that they're reading from the same gospel, but it's very much a different cultish
So
angle.
when you say do not consent, you're essentially then being
You can't you've already consented to your own punishment. It's pre-crime and
Well,
pre-crime thought. When you applied for the social compact of a driver's license, you agreed
you've
to be.
consented,
You,
right? So, but I'm talking about all those people, like those sovereign citizen people going, I do not consent. I'm not in your
it's not going to
jurisdiction.
work.
La, 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 la. It's
Not
like
going to
this,
work.
they're going to get beat, right? They're going to get beat.
That's something Zev would teach people on his videos on his channel, right? Just don't consent. Look, he's going to get people into trouble through this commercial process and copying.
Physically.
Yeah, yeah, he's going to get people into trouble because they're not using the rules of equity. They don't understand the grantor relationship in a biblical tense, right?
So what would you say instead of I do not consent or I'm not in your jurisdiction?
No, no, embrace, love thy neighbor, embrace the jurisdiction. Say, look, I'm happy to comply. I don't have the social compact you seek that gives you the right to govern me, right? That's an international quantum phrase there. Please provide the social compact that gives you the right to govern me. And he goes, well, I'm trying to find it on your person. Where is that driver's license that gives me the right to bash you, right? Where is it? He's looking for it. This is why so many people used to call me years ago, over 15 maybe years ago. They'd be pulled over on the side of the road. They'd call me up and go, oh, they're banging on my door. They're saying if I don't comply and give them a driver's license, social compact to govern
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
they're going to bash my window and drag me from the car and arrest me. And then lo and behold,
Fear.
they get dragged out of the car and the police officer puts them in handcuffs and is rummaging through the car. And everyone's like, what are you in the car for? Why are you so desperate to find a piece of plastic, aka social compact, aka jurisdiction over this person in Babylon?
Mm,
So they're dragging you into Babylon, and we're consenting through the social compact, which effectively forms a trust relationship in an
mm,
ecclesiastical sense.
mm.
This is not a time or a chance to go and fight them in the UCC from American domestic law. No, no, no. It may be America may be Babylon in Revelation, but it's not how you approach. You've got to go to the ecclesiastical sense, right? And go, look, my name's Christian. I had a baptism and I was born again Christian. If you really want a name, right? First name Christian, like on my birth certificate. First name slash Christian, right? This is the Catholics trying to bring you in through a social compact certificate, the birth certificate, and deem that you're a Hindu or a Protestant, but now you're a membered up Catholic because first name Christian, right? It doesn't specify whether it's Protestant Christian or Irish Christian, or there's over 2,500 denominations. They don't specify which denomination, but they're ministers of the house. So we can attest that it is some form of religion because the ministers of the house, right, passing private bills for their private PMA under international private model law, have somehow dragged us sideways into their religion, their cult, their club, right? That's all you need to know. Because once you understand that, then you're ready to work out how to confront it.
And how would you confront it? Like, let's just say, Jace, do you have a driver's license? People will say, oh, you're not sovereign, you've got a driver's license, or you're not sovereign, you've got Medicare, or you're not sovereign, you've got a company, or you're not sovereign. Like, let's just break that down for a minute because I want to blow some people's minds of what like true sovereignty even is.
Yes, well, a magistrate asked me once, what is your name? And they like to hear or ask things in threes. So I said, well, Your Honor, when I was born, the doctor said, here comes the crown. Oh, he's crowning. Oh, we've taken delivery of the crown. And she didn't persist any further with a straw person name because, Your Honor, I'm described in part three of your act that you're administrating today. I'm the crown. It says in law, this act binds the crown. I'm here. It doesn't say this act binds Jason. It says this act applies
Finds
to
the crown.
persons in Babylon or Catholics in Babylon
Mm.
and binds the crown. So I guess for all intents and purposes, allow me to introduce you to myself, the crown. If you want this act to bind, here I am. I'm presented, making a special appearance as the crown. For all intents and purposes, I identify as the crown, Your
Mm.
Honour. There's
Well,
nothing
if
that,
people can identify as a cat these days, I'm pretty sure we can
well,
identify as the
yeah.
crown.
They shouldn't have started this transhumanism change, the whole gender thing, and identify with. They shouldn't have started that, right? Baphomet and their baptismal when they started doing that. That's the gender change. That's the name giving. That's the person. Uh,
And they want you
you
to
know,
be confused as well.
they're identifying you as a character. So, in your act on the stage, I hereby identify today as Caesar or Jason or the Crown and Right. So, as the Crown and Right, I have a property in my name, right? I own property in fee simple in the name Jason. So, for intents and purposes, Your Honor, I'm the Crown and Right of my fee simple property called Jason, right?
Right.
That's what it
So
says on your
essentially
title.
so it's not a rejection of the straw man. It's
Soft
a
embrace.
embracing, right? So
Mm,
it's when you are the crown and you know who you are and you
mm,
know where you are and you're in your state of being, in your natural state, in your full essence, in your
mm,
power and in your truth,
mm.
you can walk this earth and have whatever agreements, trade agreements, commercial agreements that you choose, public, private, government, non-government. Like it's not about one or the other. It's about learning
That's
the
right.
whole.
That's right. Under common law, the people are the sovereign, and the body
Mm.
or the laity or the people or the founders or the members in the PMA make up the body, and the body is sovereign. There's no power originally in the body except as the sovereign. So, you know, you're not body dead, you're not body corpse or corporates, right?
Oops. Mm.
That's on paper. That's the instruments the PMA bar makes, right? They make instruments and bills, and they kill you on paper. They kill you on the document. Just like they gave a given name to Jesus. Jesus says, "I am that I am." You don't need to name me. He says, "Oh, we're going to for census. We're going to call you Jesus of Nazareth," and we're gonna. He goes, "Well, you're killing me on paper. You're trying to make a straw person, a straw man out of me, right?"
Mm.
And he used to always claim that I am who I am, I can't be named a thing. I'm not subjective to the name, but Caesar had to give a name, and this is where you get the given name. Doesn't There's no law, international law either, that says anybody has to use a name, right? So they create a company, a struck off company, put it in administration, and then ATO send it, say, here's your name. It's the business got debt. You need to pay. Right, the debt must be paid, and you go, but are you asking me,
Mm.
Crown and Right, or the sovereign, or the body, or the member of the body, or the member of the laity, or the member of the church? Are you actually asking me or demanding me to pay it? Where's the invoice? No, no,
Where's the invoice?
it's a statement that it needs to be paid. And go, well, if you're the trustee, right? Trustees must pay. So that's why they got to switch it up and say you're the owner. He says, no,
Yeah.
I'm the beneficiary. God gave
Let's
me
not give that
dominion.
tech.
Mhm.
If you want to learn this stuff, let's not give that tech.
And this goes into what we do, right? With remedies and how to use it. And this whole ownership coming into the titles, there's going to be a lot of mortgage stress come up as we go into
Yeah.
this, try and get dragged into a reset.
Yeah, I
And
think
so,
there's going to be a lot of bank debt issues, ATO debt issues. There's going to be people are going to feel the pinch and it's going to be like buckle up. And I feel like bringing it back to all of the controversy, you and I both know controversy quite well. We have dealt with a lot of it. And I think the biggest lesson for myself dealing with government agencies and government controversy
mm,
is you can't get sucked into it. You
yeah,
can't get sucked into what's written on the paper because it's
mm,
designed to keep you in the fear cycle, the fear loop. It's
yeah,
designed for you to submit
yeah,
and defend and,
yeah,
play. And it's like when you can take yourself above it and
mm,
what did we say yesterday? Keep it simple and sacred.
mm,
The kiss method. Keep it simple
mm,
and sacred. Right?
mm,
This is where that's your salvation, right? That's when you're not buying into it, you're not feeding it energy, you're not giving it anything. Don't get into the controversy. You don't need pages and pages and pages and this and that and this act and this statute and this UCC and this that.
mm.
Like actually just remember who you are and then use that power to govern yourself accordingly.
Yeah, yeah. We're all in a toxic co-parenting relationship with the Pope,
Right.
the father that's interfering as a middleman or an interloper into your sacred covenant with God. And
Yeah.
so it's no wonder that he has contempt for us and tries to lock up our kingdom, earth, or Garden of Eden from us, right? And this is what gets into the title. So everyone's going to go into mortgage crisis because they can't afford their mortgages, they haven't got money, banking reset, whatever. And this is the game to keep you on a treadmill, keep you away
Yeah.
from what's yours
Yeah.
at birth. The birthright, we all have an equal share of the dominion.
We
So everyone at
do.
birth should be having, a slice of heaven or a share in the Commonwealth. Where's your birthright? Right? You've
Yeah.
got your birth certificate, and they used to be called settlement certificates. So once you're resettled, you're given some lands through a birthright.
So while everyone is bitching and moaning and complaining and like saying, "Oh, you need to do a PMA here or you need to go there and you know this person's right or this person's wrong," and it's like that's the controversy. And whilst everyone's fighting about that, we've moved on to so many other things that are being created. And it's like that's old tech, that's old news. Like what we got works.
Mm.
We've proved it time and time. Remember your state of being. Remember who you are. There is no fight. There is no battle. And it's your faith in yourself that will
Mm.
get you through it.
Yeah, yeah. And we've got a lot of technology, but apparently it's not new tech. It's the old tech that's done well, done perfectly, right? So
Mm.
sometimes it's about going back to the original jurisdiction, the original tech, the original gospel, the original way it should be done. Allodial titles, are without taxation, and they don't have a landlord, telling you what to do. They got that old saying, if you're paying tax on something, you clearly don't own it. We could leave them with, well, if the council's saying you're the owner and the owner must pay the rates, well, you've got to really revisit what it is to be an owner, right? If you've got a share certificate in God's dominion and you're a guardian of the earth in a grantor relationship, then why did we buy into this whole owner? I'm the owner. It's a way to divide and separate people
Mm.
from their neighbors. And this is what the council, they're all Vatican City states. There's 500 councils. They're all Vatican City states running flags, and they need everybody divided in this program of ownership, the separation of ownership, put in boxes, paying individual separate rates. And this is why the act applies to persons and individuals, because you've got to be individuated from the garden, individuated from God, separated from your neighbor.
In divided duality.
Yeah, it only works when you're divided.
Right? And duality exists, right? You can't have one without the other. And I think learning how instead of being divided in duality, you can become whole in it when you learn both sides. It's
Well,
not about one or the other. You got to learn the public, the private, the light, the dark, the straw man, the crown. You've got to learn both sides
mm.
and then know where you are, when you are, and how you are. And like, yeah.
Well, there's
It's
no there's no individuals in a PMA or a
no.
community. There's members, and the members make up the body, and the body is strong. The body is sovereign. The body has international rights to association. The body has freedom of religion. The body is the power. You don't see, anyone winning wars as an individual, right? It's always the tribe of Dan. It's the Jewish tribe. It's, the Fabian society. It's a society. Freemasonic lodge. It's many. It's not one or two or a few. It's many. So communities have strength, and this is why
Mm,
they don't want us forming PMAs or communities.
yeah.
Yeah.
And this is where I think as a community we do need to come together because
Mm,
I think that that it's strength in numbers, it's strength in the membership body, it's strength in like,
mm,
and it doesn't mean there has to be one almighty, power that reside like that's not the definition of sovereignty. It's like we create our own individual PMAs, but then collectively come together for the greater good of all.
in a union. So it's like, get three together, two or more gather in my name. There I am. There's three. put that Trinity in. Then you put then get them to join a union and then form
Yeah.
a country and they come together to form a nation. And, they're just supposed to be growing, and then you're going out to the universal customary code. It's universal, Space Force,
Yeah.
Arctic treaties going out across the globe, right? So,
Yeah, and there's so much fighting amongst that level that the greater goal is just not even within reach. And it's like it actually requires, I think, the leaders in this space to come together and go, everyone's got a seat at the table if
yeah.
they want it and come together, move the ego aside. Let's sit together and plan this out because it's going to take a hell of a lot of people to get this going.
It's like, it's funny. There's a burglar coming through my window. I better, do I defend myself, hit him in the head with a baseball bat because I got young kids, or do I call the police? And the police will say, look, you don't want to be charged with a crime. Let us do it. Let
Mm.
us manage your pain. Let us go after them, right? We're the ones paid to do that job. Don't you take on that job, right? This is this whole continuous, be paralyzed. Don't do anything. Let us manage you, right? You're the minors, you're the children. You've got to be managed under the trusts, right? And we're all beneficiaries of the trust, and they need us to be weak, be divided, and be separated from our state, our dominion, our earth, right? They don't they see they try and lock us away from the dominion. It all comes under dominionism. There's amazing videos on it on YouTube, but it explains a lot, this church battle.
Mm.
So, when you're pulled over by a police officer, just know that this is an old ecclesiastical battle, right?
Under equity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not that I promoting religion or the Bible.
No, yeah, yeah, yeah. You got
It's
to
not
know where
that
it comes from.
we can have different beliefs, but remember, this is what governs them. This is the code they go by, and
Mm.
this is what they believe.
It's like I wrote my bylaws, my Bible the other day,
Mm, mm,
deeper down and this is like even if you look at it from that perspective, it's like you govern how you want to live your life, how you want your family to live your life, how you want to conduct trade and commerce. And it's kind of like a Bible. It's like your 10 Commandments, and you've got to uphold that. You've got to live by that. And if you're
exactly.
in breach of that, or a member is in breach of that, and they haven't conducted themselves in accordance with the bylaws, then what happens?
Well, they get excommunicated, they get thrown out of the country, they get sent
Mm,
overseas. This is what the government wants to do. But, at the end of the day, they can only throw them out of Norfolk Island and six other islands. There's not, this continental mainland, this earth, this Garden of
mm,
Eden, they don't control this. The
mm,
Republic hasn't resettled here to take over.
mm,
That's just fantasy. And it's
mm,
fallen apart all around them, right?
mm,
And so, we can't be drafted to fight a war for a Republican, right? Because we're not their constituents and they're simply not our government. So
mm,
we've got to stop voting. We've got to stop petitioning. We've got to stop trying to contract with them or give them
mm,
any kind of jurisdiction over our soul. Because at the
mm,
end of the day, we come together in spirit. Crown is the spirit. We all, if you're alive, you all wear a crown. And crown is the spirit that binds us all together collectively as one Christian nation. Well, that's what it was founded on, right? If they've mirrored this and copied it and changed it into the republic, we're still yet to vote, right? They want to drag us into the republic. They set up their laws and legislative instruments, and there's thousands of laws for us to follow to keep us contained. And that's their end goal is complete containment. Social engineering, social credit scoring, social compact, social services, social engineering is what they're trying to bind the construct, box the mind.
Well, that's been a lot of information today. Wasn't expecting to go that deep down into the ecclesiastical world, but God, I love it. Oh, God, I love it.
Yep.
Grantor of Deeds. So many takeaways. Thank you so much for jumping on today with us, Jason.
No worries.
Yeah, if you got any questions or you want to jump over, I've dropped the links in the show notes. You can head over to our Untethered Facebook group. But yeah, we're here just to Spread the word of God, the granter of deeds.
No worries. See you guys.